was great. Okay, we're recording. Great. Yeah, I thought some very interesting comments, and I know that the CCS is a very young agency, and you've got a lot ahead of you. It was interesting to hear Ms. Damaso's comments actually a little earlier about the fact that you guys have a lot of other people's experience to learn from, which I think is a really interesting, really useful head start that you've got. So as I mentioned, the OECD's, a lot of the OECD's focus around the meeting on Monday, around the report. Hey, Joyce, hi.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Just unmute yourselves, Joe.
I can't hear Joyce.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Joyce. Your Excellency, can you hear Joyce?
No, not at all.
Maybe she's trying to sign in. She's connecting again. Few problems. Anyway, it's very nice to meet you. I can hear you. Yeah, like I said, the agenda of the meeting was, I thought was interesting because partly because she's disappeared, because you can't avoid the whole issue with COVID. It's changed the competition landscape quite remarkably, I think, and I think that was reflected very much in people's comments. Joyce, are you with us?
It's technical problems.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
I'm here, Joe.
She types into the chat. Can you type? This is very strange. I can't even type into the chat.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah, clearly.
right.
I am so terribly sorry. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. My apologies. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with my Zoom. We just used it yesterday, but
You need a coffee, Joseph.
yeah, I probably did. I should probably buy you all a coffee when we get to meet in person.
It's a Friday afternoon. I think your computer wants to take a break.
I know it's been on for like 2 weeks. I never shut it down, so I should probably do that.
Yeah, I hear you. Anyways, Your Excellency, I'm pleased to introduce to you Joyce Chen from PaRR.
Hi, Your Excellency.
I'm going to take off and leave you two to talk about the important stuff. Just a very quick word. I'm here in my capacity as an OECD consultant. I'm very pleased that I've been able to put you two together in a room.
So much.
It's a virtual one. If you have any questions or need to reach out to me, please don't hesitate. Dr. Piwat has my contact details, so he can reach out that way. Joyce, you can get me on WhatsApp or whatever. I'm going to bow out of the meeting. I might rejoin just at the very end to say a quick sort of goodbye and send some good wishes. But for now, I'm going to disappear and leave you to talk about the things.
Thank you so much, Frederick.
My pleasure. Okay. All right. I'll see you a bit later.
All right. Thanks. I'm so sorry, Your Excellency. I'm so terribly sorry about this. I don't know what's wrong. What just happened? How are we today?
Very good. Thank you, yourself.
I'm good. I'm good. So as I suggested in the questions, I think we can just talk about. I know you attended the OECD meeting on Monday, so I think we can start off talking about some of your operation method approach to competition law enforcement during COVID-19. So I think one of the really interesting point for Cambodian is that you introduced the law during COVID. And I think the law, and so what pandemic, like for example, some agency was saying that this is a good time for advocacy work. And do you agree? And what can you share with us from the Cambodian perspective?
I think I fully agree with the perspective that during the COVID pandemic, the advocacy program, which is playing a very important role, for especially for the young agency like CCF or the Cambodia Competition Commission that need to be established soon. Yeah. Because if the public does not aware, is the regulator does not aware that we have the law, and the businesses does not aware that we have the law. So what is the point that we have to enforce the law for? So advocacy program, public awareness plays critical roles. And that's why we undertake that kinds of policy.
And as you said, this is a good, a good time to promote awareness. And what are some of the projects that you have for advocacy in the work, maybe for 2022?
Since the Cambodian Competition Commission does not establish yet, for CCF as the secretary to the Commission, what we have the plan to do is just to push the commission to be established. And then wait for some sort of the action that the commission will task us to do. But at the same time, what we are doing is just training the staff, which we consider as the investigating officer, and also to make sure that they got the status as judicial or police, because under the law, we have to have the status as judicial or police so that we can conduct the investigation and also bring the non-compliant businesses to the court as well, the legal person, I can say, and also engage with other experienced competition agency in ASEAN and other countries, so that they can train us, before we have the commission in a full function.
Right. And do we have an expectation of when the CCC would be established? Can we expect it to be set up, let's say, the first half of 2022?
We were very hard on that, and the consultation among the line ministry organized by the Council of Ministers will be conducted 21st and 22nd this month. And I believe that for 2 days, the sub-degree on the functioning and the organizing of the committee will be passed within just by early January. And we have to select the independent commission members that need another 2 months' time. So I could say that we might have the full function of the commission by, let's say, by June 2022.
So the first half we'll see something. Yeah. So months in the work. That's great. And as you said, that some of the sub decrees were presented in front of the Council of Ministers, right? And I think I heard from someone, I'm not sure if correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that there will be separated set of sub decrees. For example, sub decrees on investigation, on penalties as well. Can you share with us like how many sets of sub decrees there are, and how many of them were completed?
I think what we are doing, we draft only 2 sub-degree at the present time, which is the draft sub-degree on the organizing and functioning of the CCC, and also the draft sub-degrees on the requirement and the procedure for the business combination, which is called merger. And below that, we just have a joint prakas, we call it interministerial prakas, and also prakas, which is the when the commission established, they will commission us to do it. We task us to do it.
Right.
A number of the prakas that need to be established.
Yeah, and do we have an idea of a total of how many sub-decrees or sub-regulations that have to be drafted by the CCC?
I don't remember clearly, but the sub-degree may be true, but actually the intermediate Prakas may be true, and the Prakas may be among 4 to 8, between 4 to 8.
Right, and so what I just mentioned about investigation and penalties that will be drafted by the CCC itself instead of the CCF.
CCF will draft the intermediate Prakas on the fine, and then allow the commission to further discuss.
Right,
and then the two ministers, which is the Minister of Commerce and the Minister of Economic and Finance, for signature.
And then, so we should expect those to be finished, let's say, at the second part of 2022, because
I think by end of 2022.
Right, that's really positive news to hear. And as I said, I know the focus was on around COVID-19. Can you share with us perhaps any challenges that anticipated, to launch an advocacy campaign during COVID-19? Since these days we can't really go on site and meet business face to face, right? And are you going to launch any online campaign, or how CCCF would approach this?
Just we never expect that the COVID is going to spread over the world, and then the impact of COVID pandemic. No doubts about it. There is a huge impact to economic and also administrative matter as well. The challenges, I think, might happen to every agency, including every country as well. Less or more, it depends, on the sector. For CCF, the big challenges, which is the outreach and also the advocacy that we plan to do it, because online platform is not easy. The sound, the sound destruction, interruption,
And what would just happen earlier of this interview? Technical problems.
The numbers of the people who are attending during the Zoom is there is no face-to-face interaction. Human beings need to have a interaction, face-to-face interaction. To raise some of the understand gesture can represent of other meaning as well. While we conducting the outreach program via the Zoom or via the other means, online platform, digital platform, which is a little bit of challenging for us, because we have to engage a lot of public regulators, business sectors. So I don't know how many of them that I need to count, but actually, let's say at least we take another 1 year, 2 years for some sort of advocacy program. If the COVID pandemic still spread, then there will be small face-to-face workshop or meetings. We have to go with the face-to-face meeting with the line ministry, other regulator, to discuss other conflict of the regulation or sectoral law.
Right.
And also we have to engage with the big player in the country as well. For the public in general, for academy or student, we have to do through Zoom, through the online means. So let's say take time for that. But for the main players, we have to go first.
Yeah, and so is there any priorities or prioritized sectors that you think that you should approach first via advocacy?
To my thought, banking sectors, telecom sectors, industrial sectors, real estate sectors, which are the main focus. Because if we look into the Cambodian industry sector, just a few sectors that are, big players in the industry that have the economic growth. Besides that, it's just SME, micro SME. So we have to look into them as well by just educate them, inform them that Cambodia have the competition law.
Right, and how about tourism? Because when I was doing some research, it appears that tourism is one of the key sectors in Cambodia. And if post-COVID, everyone is free to travel again, do you see the need to educate the tourism sector during COVID and use this opportunity?
Yeah, I think so. We look into the anti-competitive behavior that in the tourism sector as well. Try to not to allow any a few player, but set I mean the price with price collusion to gain benefit from the tourists. Also like other, I don't know, monopolistic behavior that might happen in that sector. We also have to stop them as well.
So it's have you started some works in that sector, or it's a market study, or you know, a private public engagement that's happening right now?
To be honest, not yet. We didn't conduct the market study yet. We're waiting for the commission to be established, and then waiting for them to task. Because right now we are just busy with the engage with the capacity building, lesson learned from other country, try to write any pieces of legislation that under the law. So we have a mountain of work that need to be written. You know, that's why we didn't focus on market study yet.
Yeah, and but you are really determined to have that set up, let's say, as you said, by June next year, right? And if after the CCC set up, I know the OECD report touched upon competition authorities' role to play in economic recovery post COVID-19. So after that, you know, what do you think the CCC could do to let's say lobby or advise the government on competition policies?
I think if CCC established, the main role is just to engage the government, you know, to have some sort of proposed measure. Let's say the first one, maybe relaxation of some rule that, especially for like SME or micro SME, you know, which is not really anti-competitive practices. Not like price collusion as a whole, and then the commission might provide some of the competition policy that enlarge or as complementary to the industrial policy that the government might compose or other sector might compose. So take into account that competition policy and industrial policy should be complementary to each other for the benefit of economic growth and for the benefit of the economic efficiency. That's what I see from my perspective. So their role will be also task secretary to undertake some sort of a study, market study, market structure, industrial structure, and so on and so forth.
And is there any as you said, you were working with the government and other sectoral regulators as well. Can you share with us maybe perhaps which sectoral regulators you are working on with together at the moment to you know, promote competition in that particular industry?
It come to my thinking. I discussed with my friends at the Ministry of Telecom, Post and Telecom, that they have the laws on telecom as well, that their sector discussing on or stating on the competition. And also the bank sector as well. We're gonna drafting some sort of the forecast on that. One side is for competition, the other side for consumer protection.
Right.
So, which are the main sectors.
Yeah, and before the law took effect in October this year, did you see the absence of competition law implementation, you know, have an effect on market competition when, you know, before October and during COVID? Do we see a negative effect, positive effect? Is there anything you can share with us?
Well, you mean before the adoption or enactment of the law that there might be? I'm not sure. From my personal view, I think the ideas of the use of monopolistic characteristic in the market, the ideas of what we call the price collusion by the players that might happen before the law come into force. But actually, even the law come into force, we don't enforce it yet. That's why we need to engage them to tell them that, right, the activity that you have been undertaken before was against the law, was contrary to the law. So you need to adjust your activity time by time. You know, we're gonna give them some time for that adjustment.
So you have some discretion to allow them to adjust, you know, to transit to a fully competition enforcement landscape.
Let's see, it is a per se per se principle, then we don't allow them to time for the adjustment, but it's the rule of reason, maybe as our skill and of the economic analysis or market analysis is still limited, then we need some time, but we have to tell them that I give you the time, but actually just on the flip side, we don't have the capacity to do so. I mean,
and do we expect to have can you share with us maybe how many employees you are going to recruit for the CCC? Like, do you have a general idea how big of a size that would be?
The CCC, based on the draft strategy on the organizing and functioning of the CCC, we probably have 17. The line ministry about 12 members, and we have independent economists, 2 for that people have the background in economy, and 2 from the people that have the legal background, and then 1 a former judge. So roughly is about 17, and can be more. It depends on the decision from the government.
Oh, but when you say 17, that's the higher level of the employee.
The commission.
Right.
Not right. My team, we have 100 of people, like 600 people.
Yeah, but so in general, how big of the size that would be? Is there any reference that we can look at in Cambodia that how that agency will be set up and the size of it?
You mean the CCC, right? We look into the other ASEAN, look into the Singapore, they have 15 other countries, maybe 7, 10 or 12. And then in the interest of the line ministry, they also want to be members. We have quite challenging, I mean, defending, you cannot just go into because this is a particular skill, this is a particular sector, in the competition. That's why we add up with like 12 from the line ministry, including the chairs. And then the people is 5, so it's about 17.
Right. That makes perfect sense. And I saw you you spend a lot of time touching upon SMEs, and I think as one of the official from Cambodia said earlier this month that SMEs is essentially the backbone of a Cambodian economy, right? And I wanted to check if under the competition law, Cambodian competition law, do we have an exemption or exclusion to SMEs, or SMEs are equally treated or regulated just as the big companies?
I think under the laws and competition context, they grant the right, the power to the government to provide the assumption to a particular SME, a collective assumption to SME. So no doubts about it, to allow the SME to grow and all. But SME, they have to be regulated as well by a sectoral law and also with the other line agency.
So is there a list of SMEs that are exempted, or the SMEs are exempted if they are lower than certain size of business?
I'm not sure about the particular list yet, but maybe refer to the agricultural sectors.
So also the agricultural sector, the SMEs in agriculture are exempted from the law. But other than that, let's say in general, banking, tourism, these SMEs are equally regulated just as big companies.
Yes, I think so. But it depends on the government, that gonna instruct us and order us to do it. Then when the commission conduct the study, they're gonna propose to the government whether they're gonna grant the assumption to SME or which SME need to be exempted. So it depends.
So that's another task the CCC has to, it's tasked as well. So you have to come up with
from the bottom up or from the top down. It depends on the government. The government can just pinpoint that, all right, this particular SME is exempted from the enforcement, for instance, or we CCC in the future can conduct a study so that propose to the government to make this SME sector grow, then we grant a particular assumption that as of CCC as well in the future.
Right. And so I guess you haven't really started your operation yet, but then at the early stage, let's say at the early stage of your enforcement that's expected in later 2022, would CCC prefer to go after big targets first as the public is expecting or you think, you know, it's easier to go after some smaller target as a young agency?
As a young competition agency, I believe that CCC will task us to do a small local cases as a lesson learned, or to do it, you know, just involved with the conducting the investigation procedure. So it's quite simple, rather than maybe apply per se first, rather than apply the rule of reason, which is require a very practical skill to conduct the market analysis. Very complex. You may be aware that competition law is economic law, and some of us don't understand what is the economic law, economic theory and economic tricks. What is the market study? What is the market share? Use of dominant. And since we do not have, to my thing, we do not have the proper market structure yet, or maybe market share. That is rather difficult for us to tackle a big cases.
Right, that makes perfect sense. And as you said, you will take maybe two or 3 years to advocate. So I think in that case, we won't see any, you know, enforcement actions, let's say by 2025. Is that fair to say?
I think so.
That's fair to say. And we basically cannot, you know, avoid talking about digital economy in, you know, for every competition interviews these days. Can you share with us maybe how the digital economy is evolving in Cambodia, and what measures do you think the CCC after it's set up can do about this in the digital space?
I know that the digital platform, digital economy, I mean, prevail everywhere due to the COVID-19 pandemic. People talking about digital economy, digital society. Cambodia is one of them as well. Cambodian government, under the wide leadership of Directorate-General, the government also set up the digital policy framework 2021 to 2035, setting a lot of legal framework, the policy method, the strategy to have the economic recovery. We don't know when the COVID-19 pandemic come to an end yet. So this is a very smart policy set out by the government. So I believe that even they require to have the strict enforcement on the competition matter as well. Into that also, they mandated us to do, let's say, data protection, privacy. You know, if you're talking about digital economy, the question is how data can be used or misused. We have a discussion with the academy and with the line, some of the line ministry on the how can we preventing the personal data or the big data, the company data from the misuse of, let's say, the bad messages or the bad people. So there will be a legal framework, let's say law on data protection privacy, so that we can take the benefit of digital economy, digital society.
So it's CCC, as you said, is CCCF leading the data privacy protection framework at the moment, or the government itself is?
I think the government.
Right, but correct me if I'm wrong, Cambodian doesn't have a data privacy protection law yet.
Not yet. We have a lot of discussion on Cambodian does not have a correct my word, privacy. Like privacy in English word cover a lot of elements, you know. Cambodian Khmer language does not cover that, but there is a provision under the constitution of Cambodia as well, and there is some terminology and clauses set out by sectoral law as well on the privacy. But for the comprehensive privacy or data protection was not covered.
Right, and
that's why.
Yeah, and so, but I understand that CCCF has a role of consumer protection as well. From that perspective, do you see the need to push forward this data protection legislation?
I'm in favor of that, to be honest, because we are both sides, one side consumer protection, the other side competition. So demand side and supply side both have to go along, but just for consumer welfare only.
Yeah, and are you advising the government on that front?
Yes.
Pushing. So that's in the work under the 2021 to 2035 digital framework. Okay, that's really interesting. And just one last question. Apart from, I understand that we spend a lot of time talking about advocacy. So apart from that, can you give us maybe another 2 priorities for CCC or CCCF in 2022?
Advocacy program?
Apart from advocacy program. So I understand that's one of your top priorities, right? And do you care to share with us maybe another 2 priorities for your work in 2022?
For CCF, the capacity building is the priority that need to be strengthened, because competition law is very complicated law. It's an economic law. Myself sometimes don't understand. I have read numbers of documents on the competition law from other countries, the abuse of dominance. So it's very complicated. How we're gonna calculate the market dominance, for instance, the market share, the market power. So very complex. So training on capacity building is very important. So, the second thing, I think we have to have some sort of full set of regulation under the law, guidelines on a particular sector under the law. So it's gonna take a couple of years time, to have a full set of regulation under the law, because we need to draft and discuss, and also we have to seek for the input from other countries like ASEAN, AMS, and also from ACCC and other countries that they have very experience in terms of competition sector.
Yeah, and so you mentioned ACCC. Are there any more authorities that you are working with?
I think apart from ACCC, we have only ASEAN partners, not other country that engage and provide some assistance. Maybe World Bank, because I'm gonna have a discussion with the World Bank. Then the World Bank can provide some assistance, can seek for other country assistance to CCF as a young and dynamic agency. I believe that I'm gonna discuss with World Bank on 21st. So we'll request for World Bank to help us as a young agency.
Right.
We need a capacity building.
Right. And how about, I'm not sure if it's appropriate to say, because I understand that China supports Cambodia in a lot of ways, like economic growth. So in that sense, are you working with the competition authorities or Chinese government to maybe facilitate some competition project or policies?
We do not have the approach to Chinese government yet. There's a number of projects that CCF also have with Chinese authority. It's involved with the quality and import and export inspection and quality check, but not on the field of competition and also consumer protection.
Right.
So I believe in the future they might provide us some assistance as well, and we welcome all.
That's cool. Thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to add? I think I've finished my questions, and thank you for giving me really insightful information on some of them.
From my colleague and I just would like to request for further assistance from other country, further agency. We have a good intent to help us in a good faith, strengthen CCF, which is a very young and agency, so that we can enforce the competition law in a ways that for economic efficiency and also for consumer welfare. For Cambodia as a whole, I can say thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much, and I think that's a word for Southeast Asia as well, right? Thank you so much. Hi, Patrick.
Thank you both very much for your time. Sorry, Your Excellency. I did actually listen into some of your interview, and very, very interesting. I think, there's Your Excellency, you have your work cut out for you. There's a lot to do. It will be very, very interesting to see how things shape up, in the coming months and dare I say years. Joyce, thank you very much again.
Thank you a lot.
Asking great questions. A really, really fascinating interview. I'm really looking forward to seeing the coverage, as I'm sure you are, Your Excellency. So thanks once again. I think I can say that on behalf of the whole OECD. We're very grateful and very, very happy to be able to get the regulators together with reporters and actually get the stories told that actually need to be told, because in our view, competition should not be some sort of sideline policy only for people who are in its practice, but it actually needs a bit more wide, a bit broader dissemination, because it is a major policy issue. It shapes a lot of things in a lot of ways people actually don't see. And that's kind of part of my job, is to bring that into the kind of public consciousness.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for facilitating that. And you guys have a lovely
arranging.
weekend. Thanks again. And I look forward to seeing you both soon.
Okay. Thanks. Have a good Friday.
Thank you. You too. Have a good Friday.
Bye. Bye. Bye, Your Excellency. Bye. Thank you so much.